Hello. Today we are going to be crafting and another bit of history, and we're going to be making our very own hoodening horse. A hoodening horse is a Kentish tradition where we live, and it's a very unusual tradition.
Quite macabre sometimes.
So we'll go into the history afterwards, but we're going to be using this little lead front of a horse that we found at a bottle dump. Hope you enjoy learning all about the hoodening. Let's see how this goes.
Hoodening is a folk custom found in Kent. The tradition entails the use of a wooden hobby horse known as a hooden horse that is mounted on a pole and carried by an individual hidden under a sackcloth. As recorded from the 18th to the earlier 20th centuries, hoodening was a tradition performed at Christmas time by groups of farm labourers. They would form into teams to accompany the hooden horse on its travels around the local area, and although the makeup of such groups varied, they typically included an individual to carry the horse, a leader, a man in female clothing known as a molly, and several musicians. The team would then carry the hooden horse to local houses and shops, where they would expect payment for their appearance. Although this practice is extinct, in the present the hooden horse is incorporated into various Kentish Mudmas plays and Morris dances that take place at different times of the year. Hoodening was part of a wider hooded animal tradition that existed in different forms in different parts of Britain. Features common to these customs were the use of hobby horse, the performance at Christmas time, a sung or spoken statement requesting payment, and the use of a team who included a man dressed in women's clothes. In South Wales, the Mari Lwyd tradition featured troops of men with a hobby horse knocking at doors over the Christmas period. In an area along the border between Derbyshire and Yorkshire, the Old Tup tradition featured groups knocking on doors around Christmas carrying a hobby horse that had a goat's head.
The history of the hooden horse is shrouded in mystery. Most 19th century sources describing the tradition had spelled the word as hoden, but most favour hooden because it rhymes with wooden. And one possible explanation of the origin of hooden was that it emerged as a mispronunciation of wooden, referring to the use of a wooden horse.
In 1807, an anonymous observer suggested that the term hoden was linked to the Anglo-Saxon god Woden, and that the tradition might be a relic of a festival to commemorate our Saxon ancestors landing in Thanet. In 1891, it was suggested that the custom had once been known as Odening, a reference to the early medieval Scandinavian god Odin. The author of this idea further suggested that the custom had begun either with the ritual wearing of the skins of the horses sacrificed to Odin, or an early Christian mockery of such Odonic practices.
Believing it likely that the hoodening tradition substantially predates its earliest textual appearances, the folklorist Jeff Dole suggests the possibility that it had originated as a midwinter rite to re-energise the vegetation. As evidence for this claim, Dole noted that other English winter folk customs, such as the apple wassail, had been also interpreted in this manner. He also suggested that the use of the horse in the tradition may have some connections to either the use of the white horse as the symbol for Kent, and the use of Hengist the Horser, meaning stallion and horse in Old English, as prominent characters in the origin myths of the early medieval kingdom of Kent. However, the white horse did not become commonly associated with Kent until the beginning of the 18th century, and James Lloyds regards any suggestions of an ancient connection with hoodening as wishful thinking and in defiance of all historical evidence.
The oldest known textual reference to hoodening comes from the alphabet of
Kentishisms,
a manuscript authored by Samuel Pegg, an antiquary who served as a vicar of Godmersham in Kent from 1731 to 1751. In this manuscript, Pegg noted simply that hoodening is a country masquerade at Christmas times.
The earliest known textual descriptions of the tradition is provided by a letter that was published in a May 1807 edition of European magazine. The letter had been written by an anonymous individual who was describing an encounter with the hoodeners on a visit to the Kentish coastal town of Ramsgate in Thanet. I found they begin the festivities of Christmas by a curious procession. A party of young people procure the head of a dead horse, which is affixed to a pole about 4 feet in length. A string is affixed to the lower jaw, a horse cloth is also attached to the hole, under which one of the parts gets, and by frequently pulling the string, keeps up a loud snapping noise, and is accompanied by the rest of the party grotesquely habited, with handbells. They thus proceed from house to house, ringing their bells and singing carols and songs. They are commonly gratified with beer and cake, or perhaps with money. This is called provincially a hoodening.
The tradition carried on for many years, but it was suggested that the impact of the First World War effectively ended the tradition. Since the end of the Second World War, the Hoodening horse's use has been revived in Whitstable, where it is often brought out for the Jack in the Green festival each May and is owned by a group called the Ancient Order of the Hoodeners.
Although it is no longer a Christmas tradition, the Hooden horse lives on in several communities in Kent. Found on the Thames most likely, and a little bead. We're going to make a little rosette, because if you look at the pictures, lots of the Hoodening horses have rosettes on. It's a bit like a Viking shield or something.
It's so cute, look! It's lovely. I'm not sure he needs much more.
Yeah, maybe a couple of things on his cloak. Maybe just a safety pin sewn on?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite extravagant for a horse-led horse head found at the dump. Who would have thought he would have never thought he would have turned into a hoodening horse.
He was destined to be a hoodening horse. That's why he broke that way.
He looks so cool. He looks Viking-esque though. It's quite odd.
That works for Kent too.
True. Thank all Christmassy.
Hoodening horse.
He's lovely.
Well, that was our hoodening horse we made from a little lead horse's head that I found at our favourite dump. He does look very Viking-esque, which is odd because the origins may be Viking. So in tradition, it is that the hoodening horse would have a name. So we thought maybe you would like to name the hoodening horse. So if you'd like to give us some names in the comments, it would be nice. We're going to hang him on our Christmas tree with our other things that we're going to show on Christmas Eve. We've been making and collecting. So that's it for this with our walk in an ancient wood and our hoodening horse, and we'll see you tomorrow for some more crafting and maybe another walk. Bye.
Right at the end next to the car park. A piece of a marmalade jar.